Hey everybody, my name is Julie Flores. Welcome to the Quantum Feather Podcast. I have two types of podcasts that I will be presenting on my different social medias. So this one is more of a personal one-to-one talk about things that I often have on my mind. And today's topic will be energy harvesting. Now, I also do a podcast with my sister called The Sister Sanctuary, and we'll get together and discuss topics that sometimes her and I just sit around and we start talking about. So, welcome to the podcast, and please show your support by joining us and following us, clicking like if you like what you're seeing or hearing on this video. So, thank you for being here. For those of you who don't know me, I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I live in Louisiana, and I have been a quantum healing hypnosis technique practitioner since 2016. But since 2001, I've been a registered nurse, psychiatric. I've had experienced many type of different abnormal experiences. One day I might write a book, but today I'm going to talk to you about things that I question, a lot of other people question. People have been presenting their own information about what I'm going to talk about. So let's start and let's talk about energy harvesting. Now, why is that important in our world? Why is energy such a big discussion, a topic, an issue? They're proving that in past civilizations upon this planet, we had free energy technology. I'm going to talk to you about that too. So, for years, I drove back and forth between my home and the place that I worked, and it was about a 45-minute drive, sometimes an hour. So I had plenty of time in the car to think about things and to ponder over things, listen to many audiobooks about metaphysical topics. But when you allow your mind to start questioning and thinking, something opens up inside of you, and you can't stop exploring. Now, as I sat there in traffic most of the time, miles of traffic, many a time, I wondered at the same time in the morning, people in their cars drive into the big cities, and at the same time in the afternoon, drive out of the big cities. Now, to me, that got me questioning, why would city design be a one-way access in and out? So I started trying to understand the layouts of the cities and what architecture was within those cities. So this led me down a rabbit hole with many topics. But today is just an introduction to some of the things that I think I am understanding a little more clearly. So let's talk about energy harvesting. And I'm going to bring up a picture. Okay, this picture is of a city. And as you can see, the square in the middle with the lines, those are crosswalks, allowing people to cross these different areas. Now, of course, it's for safety too, just to make sure you're getting across safely. It's even policed. You will get a ticket if you don't follow the crosswalk. Now, in your mind, just expand it for a minute. Why would they give tickets to make you do something that's for your safety? Just like seatbelts. There's many questions that come with that, and why we allow those people who run our cities and states and governments to place on us that type of regulation. But just looking at this from a bird's eye view, looking down into the city, you start getting a different perspective of what the city really is. So you have this square. So the cars follow the street, that's energy flowing through the city. And then you have this crosswalk area where you have people who are energy beings walking across this every day, generating a type of energy just in this square here. And why I feel this is important, I'm gonna bring something else up. So I pulled up a AI generation of a circuit board. And take a look at this circuit board and tell me what you see that's similar to a city. Now you see the streets that run through the circuit board. This is where energy travels along the circuit board. But look at the squares. They have that same structure and makeup of that first picture I showed you of the, I don't know if I can show them both. Let me see. If I can do a side by side. I don't think it's gonna let me, or I just don't know how to do it. Remember, this is the first picture of the crosswalks in the city. And there's your circuit board. So the energy is being generated into a particular spot on the circuit board. And I'm not at all familiar with the way circuit boards are built and what every piece on there does. But if you look at the makeup of this circuit board, it represents a city. Now, what do circuit boards do? They take an energy, they take this energy and they move it around to the different areas that it needs to go to in order to process and do what it needs it to do. And I asked myself, why is a city landscape built just like a circuit board? If it didn't have the same idea or the same concept of channeling energy to where they want the energy to go. So my point with this is, as we drive into the cities and we go to work every day, we go into our buildings, we park around our buildings, our cars, and then we go into this building and we do things. So I worked in hospitals and things like that. So we're all the people within that hospital, within that building is generating an energy. So usually we're generating a energy for what? So who owns the hospital? Who are we working for within that hospital? We're working for corporations um, with logos, and a logo is a sigil, a representation of that business sigil. And sigils are used in magic. They're used to cast spells, but they're also used to absorb energy. And that sigil, the reason it absorbs energy is because then it's able to use that energy for its own purposes. So take Walmart, for instance. Every Walmart has that big star on the front of the building. So when you're walking into that building, it's already telling you what that energy within that building is going to be used for. It's going to be used for the sigil on the building, or the logo on the building, or their trademark, whatever you want to call it. And they're going to take that energy and they're going to use it for what they want. Now, some people ask me, who are they, and why would they want to use use our energy in that way? Well, we live in a system that has been created for that very specific thing. And that's a good question. Why would they want to use our energy? What benefit would it does it have for those individuals? You know, well, I think a lot of it is to create to create the world that they want, to create their power. Because within these buildings where we are working, even though they're trading us payment for our services or our skills and our trade, we get paid digitally, digitally. We get paid. We used to get paid checks and monetarily, and all of that is a form of trade, a form to trade your energy, a note, a promise. So to me, it's a contract that every time we accept the paycheck and we're signing on the back of it, we're agreeing to that contract every time we do that. So what is the contract? I used to hire new employees and go through the paperwork with them. So why do you have to have what's called an onboarding when you enter into a corporation? Why do you have to go through specific training other than to make sure that your skill sets and that you understand what your job roles are? There's always a stack of paper that comes. You have to sign a job agreement of what you're going to be doing. Nowadays, I don't know if they still do those, but those were a big. We couldn't hire people without their social security information, which in itself, the social security system is a energy trade system or a documented system of each asset within the corporation, and we are the assets. It's a way to track us, to know what our energy is feeding and where we are. So a city is designed not to house people and take care of people. It's designed to feed certain industry, feed certain corporations, hierarchical hierarchical structures. And then of course within the city you have the things that you need. You have your housing and your food and but it's all within there if you live there. But for those of us who live in the rural areas and we drive into those cities, we're still going into there to lend our energy. So why is this important and why am I babbling on about this? It's because people don't understand. We look at it from a perspective when we go to work is to earn money to take care of our family. Now, the first thing with that is why should we have to earn money to feed and house our family when we live on a planet that gives us everything that we need? Why do we have to go through a organized system that tells us what we can do and can't do based off of a monetary amount that they put on things? I understand that civilizations need structure, that in order to function, there needs to be a understanding between individuals on how that society is going to function. That really was the true purpose of a government. But our government has turned into something else. Even the word government itself is misleading because it means to govern the mind. Councils and other, from my remembrance of other lifetimes, is the way that communities were run. They had a council that decided, and the council was made up of the elders of the group, the wisdom keepers, the people who have lived and experienced the most within that group. They were valued and they were taken care of because their wisdom is what helped keep the tribe alive, the survival. But now we have turned into corporate assets. And this is all being told very eloquently by other people. It's being shown that when we are born, we're assigned a birth certificate. We given an imprint of our child's feet on a paper, which is exactly like a fingerprint. But the sole of the foot has a larger spiritual meaning when that imprint goes onto the paper. The sole of your foot is just as unique as your thumbprint. It even tells a spiritual story about your lineage and who you are. And along with that footprint, we're pricking the heels of the foot and placing blood or giving the blood of our children to these organizations when they're born. This in itself is a ritual. It's a contract between the parent and the organization, which they say that we have to do it and that it's required. But why is it? Because we are putting our child into a asset. We're turning our child into an asset for the corporation that's running different things. And of course, as we know, there are different corporations. They have different. They sell different things. They do different things. They make different things. They all have their own needs and wants. So everything humanity has been doing upon this planet is feeding these types of structures. Our energy, instead of being put towards the tribe, being put towards making sure that nobody's hungry, making sure that everyone learns spiritually, they're connected with the planet, they're connected with each other, they're taking care of each other, they're learning from each other. That has been replaced with a corporation that tells you when you have to be there, what you have to do when you're there, when you can leave, when you can retire, when you can take a vacation. It's a control of your life energy that a lot of people don't see that, because even I did this. I chased education because I thought it would improve the amount of money I made, and it did. But wanting to make more money just means more energy that's being drained out of you and two systems. So now you're giving your energy to a education system that's draining all your energy, and then you're giving your energy to a system where you're working that's also draining all your energy. Now, as healthcare workers, I went into nursing because I wanted to help people. So to me, that was a very spiritual choice that I made to serve humanity in that way. But even that, the way we serve humanity in hospital systems, that it's not for the person. We serve the corporation first. And that's what it took me a long time to learn. That the bottom line was money, that the patients that we were serving were not, and even the people who worked there were not placed in priority of healing them. It was about profit. It was about how much energy that system can generate profit margin. So they harvest our energy at the top of the hierarchical pyramid to do the things that they want. And what are those things that they want? What would you want if you sat at the top of that pyramid? Probably longevity of life, living a living a life free of financial worries and strife and stress, or the ability to to have power over other people. But as we continue with our podcast on this channel and the deep dives that I'm doing, we'll delve into some of the mystery of what this energy is really feeding. Okay, I want to show you another picture here. Let's see, we'll remove this one. And I'm going to add this one. Now, this is a picture of a Tesla coil. So, for those of you, Nikola Tesla was an inventor, he was a genius. He invented what we call free energy. So today we get energy to our homes, so we can have lights, we can have air condition or heat, we can eat, we can do those things. But we have to pay for it. So that's another way that our energy is being harvested, because we're paying for something that's actually free. And this is what Tesla was able to show people, that energy can be generated freely. We didn't have to destroy the planet. We didn't have to cut down trees or mine coal or oil to have energy into all of our homes. That it was a free, energy is free in the world around us. And if we can capture it and use it for the things that we want and we need, there was no cost to it, because it's a God-given element, I guess I want to say. And I know I can say that more eloquently, but the words are failing me right now. That we have everything we need upon this planet without the corporations. And we're allowing this system to destroy the things that would help us survive, like the forests and the oceans are being, it saddens me that today I see so many people not even have a connection with the earth, where they just throw the trash wherever. That they have no respect for nature, and nature is what the Creator gave us to take care of us. That all the food and all the sustenance we need to have shelter and clothing and all that stuff is within nature. It's not within corporations. But people have been mind controlled to believe that the corporations are the ones who give us what we need. I have a friend. She's a animal rescue nonprofit. She's been doing it for years, and she's a bird rescuer. So she had started to take these rescued birds. She would take some of them into the schools for children, to show the children, because she wanted to teach the children empathy. Now, what they're pulling out of our children, and they're no longer having, is empathy towards animals, empathy towards their environment, and towards each other. That's being lost because in the family structure, that has been by design taken out of the family structure. So she went to the school, and a lot of the children have never seen a wild bird. So she brought in a duck, and a lot of the children thought the duck that it was a chicken, because they've never seen one in real life. And it saddened her, because now our children have been so programmed to interact in a digital format that they can't interact with nature and understand what they're seeing anymore. That is going to have a big effect on the future, because this is how mind programming works. You take a person and you put them in a certain type of situation, an environment. The environment dictates how they think and how they behave. So it changes them into not a free thinker, but someone who just follows, or just someone who has been programmed by society to do what they want. And that's why we're seeing what's happening today. The disconnect between people, the disconnect between not being able to have your own opinion about things without people canceling you out of their lives, without people making judgment about you and the things that you are doing. There's not even a spiritual mutual respect sometimes, even in those organizations that say that they are here to help people grow spiritually. And I'm not talking just in religion. There's this new wave of metaphysical healers, and I'm a QHHT practitioner, but a lot of the so-called metaphysical healers are now doing healing for profit. I understand that even as an individual in the system we live in, we need to be able to pay our bills. I understand that totally. But the same thing that has been happening in big corporations, where you would do anything to achieve the goals that you want within that system, to trade your energy for something that is really not holistic, that's not healing, that's not for the benefit of humanity. It's a business, just like religion has become a business. So anyway, I see a lot of infighting going on. I see a lot of judgment going on. Even in some of the things that I've been trying to do within my own service, because I feel like we should be service to each other in a good way, help each other grow and learn about things. But okay, I'm getting sidetracked. So let's move back to this. So Nikola Tesla, he invented what is called free energy, and you see the two circles on the right and the left here. So these are Tesla coils. And a lot of people are starting to use these coils within jewelry making as well. So you can wear it, and it would help generate an energy um, producing system upon the body to help your energy. So what I really wanted you to take a look at too is the layout of the Tesla coil. So at the top middle of this diagram, do you see the two poles? And on top of each of those poles, they have these little half circle images here. I wish I had a pointer on here, but anyway. So there's a reason for those in Tesla's invention here for free energy. So let's take a look at it. So the coils, as I understand, are generating energy as the flow of it goes through. It's usually copper wire. The flow of the energy moves through the copper, or the copper is generating, just like on that image I showed you of the street. On here, you see how the streets, right? Well, this is a computer chipboard, but it's like the streets. That energy is running into particular things. Same here with the Tesla diagram. That energy is being fed into particular systems. See at the top. Okay, so why is this important? Why did I feel like this is something important I have to show y'all today about energy harvesting and what is really happening to us? Remember the top of the Tesla poles, the two poles I just showed you? This is what's on top of the Tesla poles. These are called, okay, I know I'm going to say it wrong, but JED, I think the D silent. Evidence that the JED symbol holds up the heavens in ancient Egyptian mythology, also connects the ancient Egyptian god Osiris to Orion's belt, since it's a piece of his spine. So why would this even looks like a spine within our body? Because our spines generate energy the same exact way this is symbolized in this picture. But that's exactly what's on top of Tesla's poles, an energy generating device. It's what moves the free energy out into the atmosphere to be used. Take a look at this picture and look on the right hand side, and what do you see? You see an ankh. A lot of people wear an ankh and a cross. They don't understand what they're wearing. It is a spiritual symbol. It's a spiritual symbol of energy, of power. I'm going to read this to you. The journey within. Between the avenue of the sphinxes stood two generators, A and B. A is sending and B is receiving. Between these two antennas, a solitron or vortex field is generated. So these buildings that we are seeing in antiquity, mostly churches now, even our government buildings have antennas and things on top of them. This is an energy system. The energy is being generated freely from using the concept of the Tesla coil and Tesla's free energy. They've been using it for a long time. They just haven't told us what they're doing with it. That I think I have a picture. No, I don't have a picture because it limits me to what. Give me a minute. I'm gonna see if I can pull something up real quick. And I hope it doesn't take that image file off of there and you can see me. I wanted to show y'all something on here because I had plenty of pictures. Here's one. And I'm gonna throw up another one. And we'll scroll through them. Bear with me, y'all. Okay, let me go back to here. The ancient ones knew of the knowledge of the atom long before modern science came onto the scene. They knew enough to design an electromagnetic antenna called a pyramid. This pyramid was used as the house of initiation into the higher levels of consciousness for thousands of years. The system was the same as used in America in the 1930s AD by a student of the Mysterian system, a Venusian named Edward, okay, I know I'm going to butcher this, Ledicalin, who worked with another Venusian named Nikola Tesla. Now, notice the word Venusian in there, y'all. What does that mean? It means that these people were from Venus. We have had people from other planets here on this planet for as back as we can go in our history. We have been told only humanity walks the earth, and that's not true. They said Nikola Tesla was from Venus, just like they say Elon Musk is from Venus. And there's a book about Althor. I know Val, and I know I'm saying this name wrong. Anyway, that actually was in the White House with our government, who gave like consultation about what they should be doing with things based off of their knowledge and wisdom. Van Althor, I know I'm saying it wrong now. I'm sorry. Anyway, back to this. So I wanted you to see this picture. So I believe this is in New York, and this is in a cathedral. And look at the top. What I really wanted you to do is this whole church, this whole structure, it's a masterpiece. Yeah, it's an architecture. This is why Masons had hidden knowledge of things and how things really worked. Because what we're learning now is that the way that buildings are built hold secrets. And when I say secrets, for example, this is like they have energy generation technology within these structures. And I can promise you this cathedral was probably built there because it's on a ley line. And when I say ley lines, it's invisible lines upon the earth which the energy of the earth grid travels. Now, if something's on a ley line, that means it will get more energy, just as if you were sitting upon a wire. That means you have the ability to plug into that wire to access that energy flowing through that wire. That's similar to what ley lines are on the earth. And there are nodes on these ley lines, and I talked about this before in a previous podcast, that our chakra system is connected with the earth chakra system, and that there are different sacred places upon the planet that represent different chakras. Those are energy nodes as well within the planet. So that's why they build structures upon these type of places. And so look at this building and look at what we just talked about. On top of these buildings, you can see the JAD diagram, like in this picture. You can see that they're generators. They're sending and receiving devices upon the top of these buildings. That's where there's two. And then if you look around the building, there's smaller ones going around the structure at the top of the building. And we've been told, yeah, they lie to us so much about things. They say, oh, those are just lightning rods. Yeah, there's lightning rods on everything. And they do make lightning rods, don't get me wrong. This is not a lightning rod. It might be if it's pulling in energy, but it has a bigger purpose, and that's to generate energy within this structure. Even we'll get into this more in another podcast, but look at the front of the church here. You see how it has that big circle windows and the different patterns within those windows. Look at all the windows on the structure. Those patterns within those windows have specific resonance in them. So when you enter this church, you know how some churches have these beautiful stained glass that the sun shines through while you're sitting there worship. There's a resonance that goes through these types of structures. So we'll study that more later. And I'll just throw in here, I have a memory of being in Lemuria, and from my own home. I believe I'm a star seed from another realm. That we used healing. We're healers. So we used crystal healing. And crystals weren't just something, we wore. Crystals was something that our planet gifted us to use for healing. And we would make it into a geometric structure, or for the most part, the crystals already have these geometric structures within them. Crystals, this is why they do different things. So, you go buy lapis or quartz, and then the person's telling you what it's for and what it does. That's because the makeup, the geometry within the crystals matrix determines what kind of power that crystal has. So that's the same thing. So we use the crystals. The sun would shine through these geometric patterns, and the light from the sun through these geometric patterns would touch the body, and it would help heal the body based off of the geometry of the crystal that we were using at the time. I hope this makes sense. I'm going to do my own experiments with this to show y'all. But so you can use different types of crystals for different types of healing. Now, in these churches, not only did they use the Tesla concept of free energy, generation. So they're generating, you know how you walk into a church, especially the old ones, and then you can feel there's a presence you feel when you walk into it. Well, this is why that frequency and um, sacred geometry is being used for different meanings within these places. So let me move on because for me to get more into detail about that, I wouldn't be doing y'all justice. So, okay, the next picture I wanted to show you. This is another picture. I believe it's a mosque. I'm not sure, but I was very intrigued. I was just looking for building structures that we can talk about. So, in a lot of places, you'll see a dome on the right hand side and you see a tower. See the top of the tower and the top of the dome? Like, to me, they're doing the same thing as those two pillars, except the shape and geometry of each of these pieces is different. So I think that the round dome with the receiver on top, that's a feminine structure. Anything that's round is the feminine representation, and then the tower, of course, is a male representation. So the female is the negative pole, the male is the positive pole, and those two poles are generating an energy within this structure. I'm gonna try to add a few more images on here. I was at one time doing it, and then it told me I couldn't add everything I wanted to put on here. Okay, let me do one more. Bear with me. I don't know if it's taking me off of the structure, but I mean off the feed. Okay, let's go back to this one. So, energy harvesting. This is a sports arena. This is the main concept of every sports arena you go sit in. For those of you who've been to football games and concerts, whether it's a college game, because even the college arenas are built the same way. And I'm sorry, I don't even have it up here if anybody's commenting or watching me. I'll go back and answer any questions you have on there. But look at the top of this dome. This is a feminine structure. This is a energy gathering, place of gathering within this structure. See all the seats for the people that are on the bottom. We have this many people together yelling and cheering and generating energy within the structure. It's building up with inside of this building. Now, I believe that even the field, see how the football fields and even stages that are put into these buildings are of a square. And I believe these squares can pull in that energy as well. And there's a lot of things underground beneath these buildings, just like this church that I just showed you, that we don't see because that's why we don't really understand what's going on. But I'm going to show you another example here in a minute. So they harvest our energy from these type of things. So anytime you go into an arena for a political thing, like Trump did, I don't know, hundreds of um, rallies, since he came. What is the purpose of having the rallies? Well, to me, the purpose is to gather energy. Now, I'm not saying it's for a bad reason. I'm not saying it's for a good reason. I'm just saying what it is. So the color that they decided, everyone's wearing is red. And when you look at a political rally, especially the Trump rallies, there are always a predominant color. Look at the difference between Republican and Democrat at these rallies. The colors they use is also a frequency. So red, of course, is the lowest frequency that you can have because according to the light spectrum, it's the slowest, most dense wave of energy. Now, why are they pulling this energy in? And what are they generating this energy for? I don't know. But I'm open to suggestions and hearing what you have to say about it. But I'm going to add this to what I'm showing everybody today with energy harvesting. This is sorcery. This is magic. This is using magic on a higher level that any of us can even comprehend. A circle is the same as a magic circle. Look at this arena, the magic circle. Within the circle is usually what's called in the middle of a circle is a demonic. They can't even call angelics. They can conjure different beings if they understand the name of the being, and the name of the being usually carries an energetic signature. So that's why conjuring you can do. So especially in concerts, think of this as a concert. And in the middle of this magic circle in this arena, they're conjuring a presence, usually demonic, especially in our music industry. And you're feeding this demonic your energy. See all the people sitting around it, yelling, screaming, ah, yeah, or in the middle with it. It's feeding off of your energy. And the person on stage, the singer, is a representation of that being that you're feeding. So take a look at how they dress. Okay, so you go into a concert. These are on the larger scale concerts. Yeah, we have bands that are great. That I love music too, but you need to know what you're participating in. You're actually participating in rituals. This is a ritual. This is a magic conjuring ritual. So look at what the singer, your idol, people like to tell me, oh, we're not supposed to have like I have like little statues of different things. But those are idols. I make little crystal people and stuff. No, this is an idol, okay? The person standing up there on the stage is an idol that the Bible warns us about. But still, people flock in to see their idols, lending their energy, worshiping. They worship these people. They're on the level of demigod, the worship that these people get. So you're in the structure of this arena, and you're at a concert, and the person in the middle of this circle is an image. Look at how they're dressed. Look at what they're representing. Usually, I believe if it's a female who's singing who has been transgendered from a male, I believe that representation is Baphomet. That's who they are representing on that stage. Then there's other singers who will dress like different types of demonics. If you are more interested in that, study demonology, and we can talk about that later too, because I take a look at it too because I want to understand. So this is a energy harvesting activity. So whether inside of this building, whether it's political rally, a football game, a concert. I remember I lived near New Orleans, and during Katrina, they took people and they put them in the Superdome to bring them to shelter. When this really was the worst place they could have taken them, because the structure of the dome itself, because it started flooding and the roof of the dome isn't strong and built for that type of thing. And but the people that they put inside the dome during that time, it was energy harvesting. That's why they did it. So you need to understand, even when you walk, I'll see if I can pull up my picture before I say that, but let's talk about this picture first. So remember I said that you need to understand what's underneath these buildings. And this is a perfect example. Like, we don't always or you may see the surface of something, of a structure, and think that's all there is to it. When actuality, it's a lot bigger than what we're seeing, because we need to start thinking differently when we see things. So when you come into a city and you're seeing that big dome that every city has, you need to understand that dome is a energy harvesting, a magic circle tool for whoever's controlling it. And these buildings that are pulling and generating free energy, pulling energy into their buildings, um, beneath these buildings, there's more going on down there than what they let us know that they're doing down there. So what are they doing? Are they pulling energy for the same thing? Are they doing sorcery and magic underneath these buildings? Underneath what we think is sacred and spiritual? Are they harnessing our energy? I believe a lot of these older buildings like that, that was not their original intention of the why they built these buildings. Free energy and pulling that energy definitely was the intention. But the intention to feed that energy to something specific in a bad way for magical purposes, and I guess it can be even considered a magical purpose, even if you use it for good. If you're using it to cleanse the land that you live, that's there, to help energize the people who live in that area. That's how free energy works. It helps. Our bodies are natural. Remember, natural conductors and conducer. Would that be the other word? Anyway, like our spinal cord is able to generate energy. If we had systems within our own natural environment that help that energy, such as this structure, it would help heal us. It would prevent sickness from even being able to affect us, because our energy aura, our aura body would be too strong. That's how people who built these buildings, this is what they understood, and this is why they built it, to keep people healthy. And then there was a change and a takeover during our history, which we're all learning about. And that change, they turned all these structures into something opposite of what they were meant for. So now they are draining the energy from different areas. So all the people who live in that area, all of the secret magical practices that they're using in a negative way is really pulling energy from the surroundings. And I want to make another note about this area. And you can usually tell what they're using it for by just the surroundings. Like that church in the middle of New York that I just showed you, that's in the middle of a very busy corporate structured city. I think that church is helping to feed that those structures to make them stronger. Now this church is in the middle of, and I'm sorry, I don't know where it's at, y'all. But the main thing is I want you to see is underneath there's water. Can you see the not the stream, the river, the water flow underneath this building? Now they're starting to talk about the pyramids and how under each of the pyramids there is water, or at one time there was a flow of water. Water also generates electricity just from the way it acts when it's going down a channel. So just like a street, when you're driving a car, a stream or river acts as a channel for energy. So if you have water traveling down that stream, it's generating an electrical force. So a lot of these structures were built over water for that reason, because water helped with the electrical, with the function of why these buildings were built in the first place. Water has magical qualities. People are starting to learn that water has its own structure, and its structure can be changed based off of what? Based off of acoustics, sound, based off of interacting with the body. Like if we tell our body, we're no good and we have all these negative thoughts going on, we're really changing the water within our body, and we're 70 to 80% water. So you're programming your own body to your own destruction to be that very thing that you're thinking in your mind. Well, water can be used in that way. So that's why when you bless water and it's used as holy water, that's because the blessing and the energy that you're putting into the water will stay within the water. I hope that makes sense. So even the water we're drinking these days, a lot of us are drinking bottled water. We're putting crystals in the water. We're doing all this stuff, because we know that our water has been contaminated. I think the best way to purify water is sit there with intentions and say, I love you, because the frequency of the word I love you has been shown in many experiments. Um, Look up Emoto's water experiments. He showed that it changes the structure of water. So when you drink that water and you're telling when you're blessing your meals, when you sit down, you're changing the energetic structure of what you're about to eat. A lot of our food, the way it's processed, the animals they live in poor quality of living. That's why pasture fed animals and all is supposed to be a better thing. But the energy within the meat that we're eating is based off of how that animal lived. So if we're eating meat from an animal that has been tortured, we're eating that energy in our food. If we're eating vegetables that have been sprayed with chemicals, and or even meat that has been grown in a lab with no type of energy, no type of life energy in it, you can eat the meat and it might fill your stomach, but you are not getting any benefits from that meat. Because they talk about nutrition and they talk about what can help our bodies, like meat gives you protein, and red meat can give you vitamins that you may not get in other things. But really, the importance of what you're eating is the vibration within the meat, because our body stores energy and vibration. So if you ever seen a slaughterhouse, you will understand what you're eating. That's why I think we need to move back to, I'm not against eating meat, y'all. I quit eating red meat and I really try not to eat it. I can't say I quit because I do eat it sometimes. But remember to bless your meat. I'm getting to the point where I only buy local, that I know where the meat comes from. I know how the animals are living and I know how the meat's being processed. But we all need to be aware of how we are infecting ourselves through energy every day. So if we're starting to eat lab grown meat that doesn't have any type of life energy in it, it's not going to do anything for you, as you know, for your body. All right. So back to our, let me see if I can, oh, it is going to let me add. Yeah, I'm sorry. I should have added these sooner. I thought I was limited. It will eventually not let me add anymore. But remember I talked about New Orleans? This is the Superdome. This is where they had all those people. And look, the Mississippi River isn't far. That's another energy generating system to feed the city. That's why they build most cities right on the waterways. And they also use it for, delivering goods, traveling to different places with goods. But you need to know the true beauty and magic of water. Now, look how the buildings are made in this city picture. These buildings, all our buildings, I think they're ugly, y'all. It's tall. They're masculine, phallic shaped um, within the cities. This is how the buildings are made. And then you have the Superdome, which is your female, bringing that energy together to continue to feed and be drawn into the corporations who own these buildings, these big buildings here. Los Lajos Sanctuary was that church I just showed y'all. I need to label my oh, I wanted to show y'all this place. Let me show y'all this place. So I was looking, hold on. It's gonna make me take some pictures down so I can show y'all some more pictures. So let me add this one. I was looking up buildings because I wanted to show y'all. Now, this is where is this? Hold on. I'll tell you where this is in a minute. I'm pretty sure it's Buddhist. It's called the White Temple in Thailand. Now take a look at this temple, and I just show my husband. I go, this is saying a lot, and we really don't understand what is going on here. But look at this picture of this temple. Now, before we even talk about the big horn sticking up there, look at the hands um, coming up from out of the earth, and they're holding some kind of vessel. Some of them have bowls. Now, I think this is supposed to represent the hungry and suffering of humanity, and that's what they say, and it could be now, but I just think sometimes we look at things and there's really a deeper meaning in what we're seeing, and we need to start understanding what we are seeing. So remember when I talked about on Tesla's energy. Let me see, I'm pulling it up here. This with the two poles and how the energy flows within those poles, and this the receiving, sending and receiving generators between those poles. Now, I think that's important in Masonic, but this can also be a door, a gateway, a portal. Like you're walking into this temple on this path, and you're going past all this suffering, and then once you get to through the portal, that the landscape is changing. I don't know if it's going to let me blow this up. Let me see. I don't know if that made it bigger. It made it bigger for me, but there's also bodies here. Once you walk through this place, instead of people, they're suffering and begging. Once you walk through here, you got people, skeletons trying to climb up over onto this pathway, trying to get to this place. Hold on, I'm gonna put up another picture of this temple. Let me find it. And I'm almost finished, y'all. I don't want to keep y'all here too long, but I just wanted to show this because I just couldn't believe it. Okay, here's another picture, and you can kind of see things a little better. So, leading up into this temple, and notice how this is a circle again. Like, all geometry is not just a chance thing, it's a plan thing. When they build something like this, every shape, everything they put in here has meaning. Okay, so I believe it's representing the suffering of humans, and within this magic circle it's more energy that's being fed along this path right into the middle of this temple through this portal. So, what's through this portal? What is through this portal? That's energy of suffering. Where is it going? Well, at the top, which you can't see very well, along the around the temple, those are all dragons. I guess you can see. Let me see if you can see any here. No, but there are other pictures that I saw, and a lot of it is dragon imagery. You know, the dragon also represents energy. When you see the dragon shape, just like, snake energy or serpent energy, dragons also hold different energies. So, see, if you look back at the temple, and on each side there are two poles, just like in Tesla's coil and his free energy generator. There's two on each side of the doorway what people are entering into, which I think is a portal. There's two portals I think they pass through in this going into this temple. So once they get over the threshold by the stairs, once you go through that portal, you're really entering a different dimension. It's not the same. This temple was set up, and a lot of them and churches are set up the same way, that when you go through them and you walk through them, just like a concert, when you're in that arena and you're in the middle, these are set up the same way, that your energy is going somewhere. It's being harvested and sent somewhere. So I'm gonna go back to our original picture, and then I'll finish up my presentation. As we continue to try to understand the environment and what we're really living in, we're living into a well-coordinated system that has been created to harvest our energy, whether it's spiritually, whether it's through the work we do every day, or even the entertainment that we enjoy. Everything is a way for that unknown group to use your energy for their own purposes. Now, I'm going to say this about the religious structures, and I said that before, that I think that these buildings, these churches, Tartaria is a big topic right now. The mud flood, if you haven't heard of it, do some research and you can understand these buildings a little better too. And I believe those structures weren't originally built to suck our energy. They were built to help the environment and the people who lived in that area, to help us live longer. Like, free energy would help our bodies not become sick, not age as fast, not need food as much as we need food now. That those structures were built to support the people who live there, not to feed off of the people who live there. So as we all journey right now, and we're seeing the changes that are going on in the world, they're bringing in new things. They're always thinking up new ways to what? To use us to do what they want. That's the whole thing of magic. I had said before in the podcast, magic, you have to take from something to create something. Like, energy isn't just generated out of nothing. There is a process, which the Hermetic principles really teach us what that process is, and how the energy is being used, or how the energy can be used to create what we want. So start protecting your energy. I think the most important thing is, and you hear people say you have to eat right. It's not just about eating vegetables anymore, or eating meat. Like, what's that? What was Bill Gates' meat? Impossible? Some meat? Anyway, that stuff, yeah, is not, it doesn't have any type of nourishment or energetic energy that can help us. And then the meat that we are getting is contaminated with parasites. It's contaminated with suffering, that energy of suffering from the animal, the way it lived, even in our chickens and eggs. So buy local and know where that stuff's coming from. Grow your own vegetables or go to your farmer's market from the farmers who in your area you know. And I'm going to tell you another secret that I think is important. The food, the plants, even the weeds, what we call weeds that grow in your environment. We don't know, but we affect these things. We affect, like every year, look around your house outside and see what types of um, plants are growing. Are dandelions popping up everywhere? Or the clovers popping up everywhere? Um, mullein or, there's different types of, I hate calling them weeds, plants that grow in our area. And you know why they grow there? They grow because there is a need for the medicine that they offer. It's your environment telling you, and it's the gift of the planet. It's the way the creator created the planet to heal us. Like, here's your medicine, use it. There's that story about Anastasia. If y'all haven't read it, the books with the cypress trees. She talks about when before planting seeds, how you need to put the seeds in your mouth and then plant them because you are actually programming the seeds to grow within them what you need. It knows what your body's missing just by that interaction through your water in your mouth. It's telling you that we have sacred interaction with everything we do. And we have been disconnected from realizing what the purpose of those interactions are. So I'll see you next time. I'm not posting regular dates now. I'm just popping on here and doing videos whenever I have time to do them. But thank you for watching. I love you. It's important you need to say that every day, y'all, because it programs you and it changes the energy around you. So say I love you more frequently. And I'll see you next time at the Quantum Feather podcast. And look out for me and Michelle's podcast, The Sister Sanctuary. Bye, everybody. See you next time.